when you go through and we say that we are the only people that have the right answer, everybody else can just go shove off. That doesn't seem like a very good idea. Welcome to Ridir Gaming, I'm Wes, and today we're talking about some moral and ethical decisions, and we're going to use Halo to do it because I think that Halo is one of the best video games of the past 2 decades. I have timestamps down below if you want to skip that and get straight into the discussion points. If you're here for the discussion points so that you talk about them with somebody while you play Halo, absolutely, that's what this video is for, because this is designed to get you to think. I'm not going to provide you with the answers. I'm not here to say this is right or this is wrong. I'm here for you to start a conversation, because conversation is the power to change minds.
I have another game, if you're interested.
Now, one of the questions that I've been asked before is why use video games to go through and teach something that's already available in books and already available in movies? This same technological revolution happened way back when the printing press was invented. Everybody told stories, and it was the oral storytelling that taught morals and ethics throughout history. Well, then everybody started getting access to books and people started learning, and everybody in the church started getting really worried about everybody being able to read the Bible. They wanted it to stay in Latin so that they control the influence. Well, right now you have everybody's able to transition to the movies, and movies are very short though. Video games have the benefit of being anywhere from 4 to 9 to 15 to 40 hours long. You can fit a lot of material into 9 hours. You can fit an entire saga into 40 hours. You have a lot of opportunity to put the gray area into these decisions. Another reason why I like to use video games is because a 5-year-old can't read a book by himself very well. But a 5-year-old might be able to play a very simple video game with their parent. And no, a 5-year-old doesn't need to play Halo. But a 5-year-old might be able to play something where they learn that taking a toy from a friend without asking politely is not a good choice, because that's just not very nice. And that's something that we work on every day. Now, do I say that playing a video game is the primary way to do this? No, I don't think so. I think that 5-year-olds need to run around and sprint and have fun and be kids outside. I think that a 15-year-old might have a better opportunity with using a video game to go through and discuss moral and ethical choices. And that's why I'm talking about Halo, because Halo is rated mature. All right, here's a quick warning. This section has spoilers, so if you don't want this, go ahead and switch to the next section. You can see the timestamps down below. So what we're going to do is we're talking about why the Covenant is a collection of alien species who roam the galaxy finding Forerunner artifacts so that they can follow in their footsteps and join them in the great journey. Now, not all the Covenant came freely and willingly into the fold. In fact, most of the lesser species were ransacked, ravaged, and nearly exterminated so that their society could be rebuilt to serve the prophets. Now, this raises a lot of questions about the Covenant. And then when they get to humanity, why are they actually exterminating humanity instead of trying to bring them into the fold like the other species? Well, that's because, and I'm not going to spoil all the books and everything, but the general overview is the fact that the prophets have claimed themselves to be the prophets. They are the ones that know the great journey. They're the reclaimers. They've assumed the mantle of responsibility. Well, lo and behold, they happen to find a couple Forerunner artifacts that identify humanity as the actual reclaimers. The entire species of humanity is reclaimers. So now they've espoused that they are the reclaimers, and that is their truth, and the entire Covenant believes that they are the reclaimers. And they just found a different type of fact. They just found a truth that is so opposite that they cannot fathom it. And in fact, it will undermine all of their power. So what do the prophets decide to do? They decide to exterminate humanity so that their version of the truth can continue going forth being the only version of the truth. What I want to talk about isn't necessarily that part. It's the fact that exclusive humanism, which is when a religion or a person or a governing agency says that they have the exclusive rights to what is true. Everybody else be damned. Literally, in this case, to hell.
Soon the great journey shall begin. But when it does, the weight of your heresy will stay your feet.
When you go through and we say that we are the only people that have the right answer, everybody else can just go shove off. That doesn't seem like a very good idea. That doesn't seem like we're open to dialogue. It doesn't seem like we're open to being kind to each other. It doesn't seem like we're open to being good people. And yes, the prophets and the Covenant are not open to being good galactic citizens. But what they are doing is they're very reflective of human culture over the past few millennia. And it's not just cultural, we also do it religiously. Right now, we have the three major monotheistic religions. You have Judaism, you have Christianity, and you have Islam. And each one says that I am the only one that's right. And all three of them come from the same area, and they all have the same basic principles. They differ greatly throughout, but it's all the same basic principles, yet each one damns the other. But then when it comes down to it, each one says, love thy brother. And each one says, be a good person. We're not being good people. And that's the talking point. Do we want to be like the prophets? And do we want to lead a genocide across the stars? Or do we want to go through and find a way to make better galactic citizens? At least for me, personally, I think making better citizens is the way to go.
Tartarus, the prophets have betrayed us.
Now, how can the prophets get so many to blindly follow their will? The fear of the other and the manipulation of the information so that those in the Covenant viewed humanity as unworthy to join the great journey is central to the story of Halo.
Yet the humans were able to evade your ships, land on the sacred ring, and desecrate it with their filthy footsteps.
We know why the prophets feared humanity's existence because of all the cutscenes in Halo 2 and Halo 3. But how come none of the other species within the Covenant questioned their orders? Well, this is quite simple, and it's something that happens all the time here on Earth within humanity. We dehumanize other people. We mark them as unworthy. They're inferior, they're classless, they're unintelligent, they're degenerate, or simply because of their appearance, their color, their stature, or their location of birth. And it's been a staple of humanity's ill will towards others within itself throughout recorded history. While it would be easy to say that we would never commit such heinous acts against ourselves, history continues to prove us wrong. During World War II, American comic books and cartoons depicted Germans as Huns, large and oafish brutes, and Japanese soldiers with wicked fangs and claws. Pictures and movies of the enemies as humans were very rarely shown and almost never to the public. The Japanese and Germans committed Holocaust during World War II. The Armenian genocide followed. Countless colonial expansions across Africa, South America, the Pacific, U.S. expansion across the continent, slavery, systematic racism, and Jim Crow laws, educational defunding. And my personal hornet's nest is definitely educational defunding across the entire United States. But this leads us into the last point. Is humanity worth saving? And we must face a very difficult question. Was the creation of the Spartan 2s worth it? To fully understand this, let me go back again into a little bit more backstory. Earth had sent out its first waves, who had become the inner colonies, and then the subsequent colonists had founded outer colonies. The outer colonies became resource producers. Entire worlds were dedicated to mining or agriculture, and the inner colonies in Earth became dependent on their supplies. One thing leads to another, no taxation without representation, and an insurrection starts. Instead of peaceful negotiations, Earth decides that military occupation and deadly force would be the best way to handle the rebels.
Kill your friends and family.
Well, lo and behold, this doesn't work, and in a desperate bid to win a losing fight, a secret organization within the already secret Office of Naval Intelligence set up the Spartan 2 project. Black Box screened millions of little kids and eventually abducted 75 6-year-olds, primarily from the outer colonies, replacing them with faulty clones who would die tragically. Over the course of the next decade, they would train in military studies, physical conditioning, receive chemical and biological modifications crippling more than half of the kids. In the end, the Spartan 2 super soldiers began their careers to end humanity's infighting, not to battle the Covenant's alien hordes. When the aliens actually began their genocidal campaign, humanity had little hope in space, faring far better on the planet's surface, but still badly outnumbered and outgunned, except where the Spartan 2s appeared. Battles turned as individuals and teams of Spartans turned the tides of the battle. But even as the 33 Spartan 2s valiantly beat back the invaders, humanity was steadily beaten back across the stars. And that is where the Halo saga begins. Throughout the Halo games and novels, it's become clear that the only real advantage that humanity had were the Spartans. In fact, without the Master Chief, it is arguable that all life in the galaxy would be wiped from existence. But do these facts justify the evil done to 75 families to save billions or trillions or more than that of lives spread across the Milky Way? To me, no. To the UNSC and the Halo universe, again, no. They searched for and imprisoned the project director, Dr. Hasley, but to some the answer was yes. That's how the project got started. And it wasn't even to save the human race from extinction, but rather to subjugate the outer colonies and put down the rebellions. So why is there such a wide variety of what we as people think are acceptable prices to pay for power?
How many dead, Deja?
27 deceased. 36% of the candidates.
children. 36% of the children.
I'll leave you with those questions, and maybe you have some of your own that you can leave in the comments down below. Because let's face it, talking to a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old or even another adult about any of these questions can be very trying and taxing and very hard to talk about, because we can tie each of these concepts back to something that happened in our own history. And I'll ask you a question. Do you know of a game that would actually do this better? Something else that would have more poignant questions and better discussion points about moral, ethical, and just ambiguous decision making. Again, the point of this isn't to give you the answers on what's right or wrong. It's to simply open up a dialogue with other people and to help shape the way that we think. Because once again, we use oral storytelling and then books and then movies and TV shows. And now we can use video games to talk about these choices and help guide the way that we think and guide the next generation to become better people. Because once again, the point of Ridir Gaming isn't to sit here and talk about video games all the time. I would love to do that, but it's to make the world better one person at a time through gaming. So if we can do that, I would be so happy. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button so that the YouTube algorithm knows to push this to other people so that we can continue helping more people. If you enjoy the content here at the channel, then please consider subscribing, but that's completely up to you. All right, this one's gone on long enough, so if you have any questions, you can put them down in the comments below, or you can reach me at Twitter. The link is below, Instagram, or I stream every Wednesday and Friday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern time, and you can just come in and we can talk about anything, video games, or anything that can help make people better. So this is Wes from Ridir Gaming. Grab those controllers, game on, and we'll see you next time.